What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. This is the post-race show. Daytona 500 has just concluded. We're getting ready to go into the Xfinity race. Go ahead and get that set up. Kind of wait on some people here in case you guys want to jump in. Let me know your thoughts in the chat below. What you were thinking of the Daytona 500. Not the result I was hoping for, but it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers, and us Kyle Busch fans are begging for a 500, unfortunately. And I don't know if we're ever going to get it. On the 20th try, I thought that we had a strong chance. As I'm getting ready to turn the Xfinity race here on, pretty sure it's on Fox Sports 1, right? We'll see. If you're just now tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what you thought of the race, everything like that. Let me go ahead and post it. All right. So we got a couple people. Thank you guys for joining in. Looks like we got poker on TV right now. So we'll go ahead and we'll get the video started here. Thank you guys. If you're just now joining the show, typically this is a live show. Some of them will not always be live. We'll be doing, some racing post-race show just to kind of go ahead and give my thoughts. Depends on the way the schedule works out, but obviously the Daytona 500, feel like a lot of people might want to talk about it, want to hang out and watch the Xfinity race as well. But thanks for joining us. My name is Ryan Peters. May have some guests later on in the show. We will find out. This is the Daytona 500 post-race show. Welcome all. The headline says it all. Byron wins the Daytona 500. What was an amazing race. Probably one of the best 500s that I can remember. I really, really enjoyed the Daytona 500 when you look at it from a macro level. Unfortunately, when it comes to the end, it's like we read a really, really good book, and then the author ran out of time for the ending. And unfortunately, William Byron finds his way backing into another victory lane. That's part of it. You got to be able to run at the end of 500 miles. And unfortunately for us fans, unless you're a William Byron fan, all six of you, I'm sure, just it ends up being a yellow flag as soon as he crosses the field backwards. And is what it is. I mean, we had all kinds of different things going on in this race. I'm not sure there was really a favorite. Logano was up there for a lot. Kyle Busch was up there for a lot. William Byron was not. I think we thought Denny Hamlin was fast at times. Chase Elliott looked like he had some speed at times. Just a lot of going back and forth in this race. But I think maybe Kyle showed the most motility, being able to move in, up, and around, but just not a whole lot when it came to, just a dominant car. And I think that's what made it really, really fun. We had a wreck early in this race. We saw Brad Keselowski do his thing, cause a couple more millions of dollars worth of damage. A few cars were in that. Kraz Gralla, Jimmy Johnson was in that wreck. Austin Dillon was in that wreck, and a few other drivers. And then the guy on the front row, Michael McDowell, ended up having electrical problems there, kind of in the beginning of stage 2. Pit road, again, terrible for Kyle Busch. Not of his own fault this time. A crew member fell over the wall for Kyle Busch. That was an unsafe penalty. And then they forgot to loosen the lug nut, and probably one of very few drivers in the entire sport could drive the car all the way around the track with no lug nut on the front left tire, gets back in, ends up going from like 20th all the way up to third place in a matter of about 3 laps. So had that happen, and then we just really had some good racing. ended up going 3 wide immediately. And then that powder keg situation happened to where, stage 2 had its own things. People were able to get some points. Chase Elliott ended up winning stage 1, and I had it wrote down here. I don't want to lose track and tell you guys the wrong thing. Um, Chase Elliott, and then Ryan Blaney won the second stage, and we saw nothing out of Ryan Blaney after that second stage. He just didn't really have the car. Did get in part of that big wreck, and then it just seemed like the powder keg was happening. 3 wide racing, everybody up front, and then we get a hard push by Alex Bowman. He ends up hitting into the back of William Byron. William Byron gets squirrely, and then all hell breaks loose. I think it was 15 cars or something like that were involved in the big one. And at the end of the day, that's set up for a 4-lap shootout after the red flag. And, well, William Byron and Alex Bowman pushed their way into Ross Chastain, wreck him, and then William Byron crosses the finish line, even though they wrecked well before it. And William Byron finds himself into victory lane. NASCAR gets what it wants. It has Hendrick Motorsports in victory lane. William Byron gets what he wants, where nobody talks about him, and then he ends up winning the race. And this will probably be a video that doesn't get a whole lot of hits because there's not a lot of you William Byron fans out there. Not any disrespect, just not a lot of passion when it comes to William Byron fans. I mean, he seems like a really, really good kid. I like the story, the fact that he went on iRacing, but there's probably going to be so many other kids once they hear that, like, yeah, Mom, I too can race. Where's my meatloaf? I'm going to be a NASCAR driver because I haven't been outside for 3 weeks. There you go. That's the best I got. It's frustrating. I mean, you watch 500 miles of this product and you want to see an authentic, really, really good finish. And we just didn't get that. And a guy that did nothing. I mean, just did nothing the entire race. It made more sense for Alex Bowman to be there at the end, even though he, threw all of his guys out of the way to make sure that he got into the top 2. It just shows you that when it comes to super speedway racing, nice guys finish last. If you're willing to block people, if you're willing to shove people out of the way, if you're willing to hit people when you know it's going to cause a wreck, it just seems like more often than not, you bulldoze your way into a situation where you have a chance to win. And that's what we saw tonight. I don't think William Byron raced dirty by any means. Alex Bowman did his thing. There's a ton of pushing. I'm not going to pretend there's not a ton of pushing, but, just 2 pushes that we absolutely know were going to cause a wreck. And that was Alex Bowman with a shove on his own teammate, which he did try to wreck everybody in the duel, his entire team. He did try to wreck them in duel 1, ended up costing Chase Elliott quite a few spots. And, and then we see it where Ross Chastain gets dumped. And again, if Ross Chastain would have done this to somebody else, we'd be littered with people on social media complaining, bitching about how Ross Chastain's terrible, how he doesn't know how to wreck. But when Ross Chastain becomes the victim of it, I mean, it's just stone cold styling. We get to see William Byron put on a big hat and Mr. H waddle his way out there and tell everybody how great his team is. And, even though he didn't make it to the front row on qualifying, he finds his way into victory lane. So we got a few chats. Truex, the end was trash. I agree. And Truex fan, welcome back, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Bowman is crazy for wrecking the whole field. It was a good race. You believe that Joey Logano had the fastest car. I don't disagree with that. I think that he had one of the fastest cars. Absolutely. Wait, I just realized William Byron made a comeback from wrecking. He, not really wrecking, he was involved in an incident. We'll just put it that way. I'm not sure if you would call it wrecking, but he was definitely involved in that. So, yeah. We're getting ready to watch the Xfinity race. I'm excited for that. A lot of good drivers in the Xfinity race. See if I can go ahead and pull up the starting lineup for the Xfinity race, in case you guys are wondering what that looks like. So, trying to find it. Is it really that difficult? Live leaderboard. That should be it, right? Hey, there we go. All right. So I believe 5 drivers will be racing 100 miles tonight. AJ Allmendinger is one of them. John Hunter Nemechek, Anthony Alfredo, Riley Herbst, and I want to say Daniel Suarez. Yep, there's Daniel Suarez. Anybody that I missed? Negative. So I'll go ahead and show you guys here in just a second. So you guys can see for yourself. Bang. This is the starting lineup. 1 through 10. Jesse Love moving to RCR. Austin Hill with RCR. The Dinger, Shane Van Gisbergen, which will be interesting. Oh, son of a monkey. See what Shane Van Gisbergen can do at his first oval super speedway track. Allgaier, Clements, John Hunter Nemechek, Parker Retzloff, Fast Pasta, and Riley Herbst. So there is that. Let's go ahead and get back. Let's ding, ding, dong. We have a guest waiting for us. Whenever he was patiently doing things earlier today. Welcome in, Travis Butt. Hopefully you are doing well. You look comfy. You got your recliner ready to watch some Xfinity racing.
I am ready to watch some Xfinity racing.
But before we get to it, man, let's get your overall thoughts on the Daytona 500.
It's just been, a typical super speedway race anymore where it's all fuel mileage. It's, the last stage is usually pretty decent because fuel mileage is out the window. Kind of thought the third stage, end of the stages were pretty decent. Um, I don't know, it's just all fuel mileage. You sit and you watch them all run 60% throttle everywhere. They're just side by side. Who was at the very beginning? Ryan Blaney and Bell running side by side for 30 laps. No one pulled ahead, running 40% throttle. It just makes it's kind of boring. But like I said, it all kinds of makes up in the third stage when business picks up. And I thought that third stage was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Your mic is a little bit funky. I'm not sure if it's your connection or not. Maybe try to jump back out and then jump back in and see if that helps it. It just sounds like there's some feedback going on there.
What about now?
It's a little better. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know that you were busy at the beginning of the race, but yeah, the first stage, I think it really set the patience because Brad Keselowski, caused a wreck at the beginning, and I think a lot of people are like, okay, we got 500 miles of this. We've only run 25 of the miles, and I think it was pretty pedestrian. The beginning of the second stage, you got it squirrely, and I think it showed. I think the biggest thing that I'm at least excited for is whenever the next gen car came out, it looked like there was no way that they were going to run 3 wide. And we've seen now, at least here in the past year, that you can go 3 wide. And I thought that, made for an exciting product for, that last stage. Me being a Kyle Busch fan, it was really rough knowing that somebody was going to wreck at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
Being a Kyle Larson fan, he was kind of, in the mix, in the mid the entire time, but he's really, really struggled to get top 10s at super speedway tracks. And, and I think it's one of two things. And I said this, and I'm not sure if you was able to hear it before, but I feel like Kyle Larson, 99% of the time races pretty fairly. He had a couple run-ins with Chase Elliott a couple years ago, but that's neither here nor there when it comes to consistency. It seems like when Kyle Larson gets in trouble, it's by his own doing, for himself, by himself. But I just feel like Travis, man, it just feels like anymore on super speedways, like you just got to be the bigger prick. Like you gotta block when you're not supposed to block. You got to shove when you know the shove's never going to work, and that's why we end up watching a guy that a teammate of William Byron finds his well into victory lane because him and Alex Bowman were the ones being willing to be the bigger pricks tonight.
Yep, I agree. Like I said, I think Denny Hamlin said it best, where he says, "I'm tired of the manufacturing games. I'm ready to be like the person. I gotta go back. That's how we win races, is by me being the better person." So it was one of those things where, like I said, I think I really wanted. It's good to see 24 back in victory lane, but I had Alex winning too, so it was one of those things as we go green here.
Yeah, we just started. Yeah, if you Travis, try to jump back out and then jump back in and see if that helps your mic. It's just really it's real staticky. I don't know how to explain it.
All
Maybe
right.
people in the chat are noticing as well, but maybe that'll help. But hopefully that helps his mic. Yeah, we are just now going live at the for the Xfinity race, so hopefully we see a really good race on that front. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed everything so far. We got Travis jumping back in here. Let's see if
Is
it
that any better?
works now. Oh yeah, that's a lot better.
Good.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're super clear. But
Good.
well, you got any? We got right before you jumped on, or as you were jumping on, we got 5 guys getting ready to run 800 miles. That's pretty intense. Normally, you get what 3 to 4 hours to take a break, but a
How
lot of
many of
these
these
guys are just going to jump right into a car.
how many of these people actually ran eight is going to run the full? I think Allmendinger finished top 10. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Allmendinger did for sure.
so did Nemechek. He finished like eighth. Shores got wrecked. Anthony Alfredo, I think he got wrecked there at one point. He might have actually still ran the whole thing. Van SVG is everywhere. He doesn't even know what to do. Oh my
Riley
god.
Herbst. Riley Herbst was in it, but I think he got wrecked at part of that last one
Oh
as
yeah.
well. But yeah, so that's to me the bigger headline is what SVG does in this super
Dude,
speedway racing.
he
Because
is swirly. Oh, he doesn't even know what to do.
yeah, normally you have to show proficiency in super speedway racing. Like you have to be of a certain age before you can race in super speedway racing at the lower circuits. And SVG, who has never done this before, just to get thrown into a car and say, "Yeah, buddy, it's 195 mile an hour. You're used to racing on road courses. Good luck."
Yeah, and heck, he doesn't get to do the paddle shifting. He's actually got to do a gear, and he's on the
Right.
wrong side of the car. Holy smokes, he is wait till it goes three wide. He ain't gonna know what to do.
Yeah. Hopefully he's
I
not in
think
the
it's gonna be a
middle.
lot. I think it's gonna be a lot like Juan Paul Montoya and like Danica. Danica was that 10, 15 years ago, and Juan Montoya back in '06. Hey, we're just trying to make it one piece. We don't care if you finish 30th. If the car's still one piece, you did a good job today. You do not get to race until 3 laps to go.
Right. Right. Yeah. Normally you would see them going straight to the back. Shane's been holding it pretty steady. He's in 10th right
Mhm.
now. I did want to get your overall thoughts. Is there somebody or something that you're impressed with? Somebody that, disappointed you when it comes to today's race? I mean, what's your overall feelings outside of the race itself, just kind of on an individual or team level?
I thought, I thought Penske was probably the cars to beat. I kind of thought if Alex Bum would have won, I would have won a good chunk of change. So maybe that was a little disappointing for me. But um, let's see here. I don't know. I thought Toyotas were pretty good, better in the draft than what they showed. Um, it just uh, I thought the Fords were pretty good. Like I said, I go back to thinking the Penske's. Penske showed a lot of speed. Penske showed a lot of good stuff. I thought, they were maybe more of the class of the field than anyone else. Obviously it didn't work out in the end. But if we're gonna go back to this, I think that actually the most impressive thing I saw was actually Hendrick. I think that was the best they've raced at a super speedway in a long time. They always go for the pole and stuff like that, and they actually went for, okay, let's race better. I think we need to race better, and it showed. I mean, they all four were up towards the front. I wouldn't say the old time, but obviously when you finish, I don't know what Elliott finished, but you
I think
finished.
he got caught up at the very end of that.
He did. So I mean, you got three out of the four finished top 11. That's a pretty decent day,
Right.
for the Hendrick. And he finished 1-2. I don't think you're going to see them get many more pole awards. And I think everyone's looking on the same side of look at Penske. They got the pole awards, and Ford did really good about the front row. And what the heck, you got McDowell that I think he didn't blow an engine, but he had some kind of,
Electrical issues.
yeah,
Yeah.
electrical issue that ran in the back. And then you had, Logano that I would probably say he was still the class of the field, but he got taken out too. So, maybe it's just not good luck.
Yeah, I thought what was interesting is that, I think motility wise, Kyle Busch was probably the best card that could start in the back and move his way forward.
I
His
agree.
his biggest issue is he doesn't have a damn teammate, so he has to race by himself. Him and Ricky Stenhouse are the only ones racing by themselves out there.
Yeah, what about him? He had that a tire almost come off, and he restarted like 30th and he was like in 5th place in like 3 laps.
Yes, yeah, exactly, and you didn't see a whole lot of that. And Chase Elliott impressed me. I thought that he was very competitive. Kyle Larson did his thing. I think if any time you get a top 10 from Kyle Larson at Super Speedway, I think that's a win. He was one off of that.
Mhm.
That last restart, I think Kyle and Chase Elliott were trying to push the needle to get that third lane going, and
Mhm.
everybody else was not, and they
Was
just both
blocking a little
dropped
bit.
like rocks, in the back there. Uh, but yeah, it just
Hendrick's most damaged car was the one that won.
yeah, right, right. I'm just curious if like this is going to be what we see moving forward when it comes to Hendrick. Like when what's the right way of putting this? And Joe, as he joins the conversation as well, welcome in Joe, the Joe Spillman.
That's right.
Um, when are we going to be willing to say that William Byron is the best driver at Hendrick? I mean, because we're one race in now. He was the best driver there last year when it comes to wins. What more does William Byron have to do besides winning to show that if he's not the best driver, he's been by far the most consistent in the last 2 years?
Uh
Year and one race. Let me
well,
say.
let's see here. I look at it this way. I think if you look at all his wins last year, you know, let's look at, you'd have to probably pull him. I could probably name a lot of them. He had Watkins Glen, he had Las
Atlanta.
Vegas, he had Atlanta, he had who else did he win? He won Darlington, he won Texas. Now think about this. Larson was the dominant car at Las Vegas and Byron won. Larson was the dominant car at Darlington before he got wrecked by Chastain.
Yep.
Byron ended up winning it. Larson was the dominant car at Texas. Well, guess who ended up winning it? And these were all you think about all three of those races, Larson was leading with like 7 or 8 laps to go before a caution came out. Smoking the
Oh
field.
snap, bro! That's might have some hostility in the household right there.
Jeez.
Jesus,
She's just trying to get me stirred up.
Joe, don't get us copyright stricken behind you. I see what
Yeah,
you're trying to
that's
do here. Don't
that's a good
don't
call.
get us copyright strict. You know how Susan Wing Wang used to be.
Yeah,
If you sing a jingle, she will try to get you canceled.
Oh Lord, I don't know who that
I
is.
turned my TV off.
That's
It's
the what used to be the CEO of YouTube,
Oh, I
Susan
gotcha.
Wojcicki. But
I think if you look at, and I could just be wrong by saying that. I'm not taking anything away from Byron. He's a heck of a driver. He finds a way to win. I think he actually is the best finisher when it comes to. He reminds me of Kevin Harvick back in his heyday when they called him a closer. I think Byron's that new person where he's hella good about finishing races. But when it comes to driver wise, I think he's definitely in that number 2 spot after Elliott's season last year. But it's hard to say if you're talking about just driving. It's hard to it's hard not to be the guy that races everything and is always towards always cream of the crop. So I don't know. It's just and that's just I guess I have a hard opinion because he's my favorite driver. But
no, I understand, and Joe's kind of in the same boat. I mean, he obviously likes Kyle Larson as well, but at the end of the day, it matters where you are in lap 500. I mean, and he's been really good at that. Now, I'm not going to say that as soon as they drop the yellow flag that I'm not pissed off because, again, I feel the same exact way. I thought Alex Bowman, I mean, he famously got called out, I believe it was by Kyle Busch actually, for backing into wins. And it just feels like Byron's been good enough to put himself into a situation to back into wins.
Yep.
And it was like that today. But Joe, I'm going to ask you the same question. You've been on this show. You obviously see the traffic we get when William Byron wins, which is jack squat compared to he just does not move the needle when it comes to NASCAR. But at what point do you look at William Byron and say maybe he deserves a lot more credit than what we're willing to give him at Hendrick?
I mean, I think we knew last year that he deserved more credit than we were giving him. Where I'm at with him, though, is the same argument I made on this show last year, and probably other podcasts that we've done, is William Byron does nothing to promote the sport. Just like you said, he does. Nobody wants to see him win. And at the end of the day, when he does win, people walk away from. I mean, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Elliott wins that race. Social media, the internet's blowing up right now. William Byron wins the race, and they're like, yeah, cool hat, whatever. What's on now? And that's kind of where we're at. But I think that you have to start looking at him as one of the premier drivers in the sport. He obviously is, and I don't think he's going to slow down anytime soon. So maybe it's time to jump on the bandwagon. I don't know.
Well, I mean, see, that's the thing. Like, he's got such a cool story. NASCAR could have promoted his story even more with the full speed stuff. And instead, we got to see him put together Legos. And I'm like, for Jesus Christ, like, I don't want to see a grown man put together Legos, but okay, cool. Like, William Byron, the nerd that wins on iRacing to get into NASCAR, puts together Legos. I'm shocked. What are you going to tell me next? He plays Dungeons and Dragons on Saturdays? Like, it just doesn't do anything to move the needle, because the guy has no personality, and this sport is dying for people to have personable. And it's the same thing to me to Major League Baseball. They're dying to put people in to show why the sport is worth watching. Oh, snap! Baja, man, he let the dog out. But
dog's wearing a sweater.
And the thing is, he might be one of the 5 most talented drivers in the sport, and he has a background that no other driver can say. But man, I just have such a hard time when he wins, because I just want to see some excitement, and instead, it's like we got to watch 499 miles or 498 miles of tremendous racing, and then that final 2 were pretty tough. But I don't know. I mean, he's a good driver. He gets to be at a really good team. It's a much different storyline when Alex Bowman wins. If Alex Bowman was to come out on top, we get to sit here and talk about how maybe he's back from a back injury. Maybe he's a Bowman that out of all the drivers at Hendrick Motorsports, he's the one probably on the hot seat, compared to everybody else, because he's never had the consistent winning. But it's just tough, whenever he wins. But Joe, what was your overall thoughts of whatever you get to what you got to see today of the Daytona 500? Is there anything that surprised you, that you enjoyed, disappointed?
No, I mean, I think it was the typical 500, typical super speedway racing. It's exciting. You're watching guys go from 15th to 5th. Can you not hear me?
Oh,
yeah, I got you.
You're good.
Okay. You're watching guys go from 15th to 5th. I thought it was typical Daytona. Of course, we get the big one. I think that was late in or at the start of stage 3, correct? Or was that late stage 2?
The big one was actually with like 11 to 12 laps to go, because they restarted with 5 laps to go.
Okay. Yeah, so that was toward the end. I was trying to, my daughter had a basketball game, so I'm trying to watch the basketball game and the 500 on my phone. But I'm not other than William Byron, I'm really not disappointed in that race at all. I think it was a good 500. It was good racing. So, I mean, if you're a fan of Super, you got what you paid for. I like watching super speedways every once in a while, but of course we get one again next week, but after that we get to a little bit more technical racing, and that's what I like to see. So
Corey Hunter comments, and he says that he loves pack racing, or love pack racing. He doesn't love pack racing. He loves pack racing. Well, Corey, thank you for joining in, buddy. Hopefully you're having a great Monday evening. We have Joey. Yeah. We got Shane Van Gisbergen trying to run 3 wide here in the Xfinity Series for the first time. But like you said, moving on to Atlanta, I don't think anything changes. I mean, William Byron won there last year, and you and I have seen some really good racing at Atlanta since they repaved it there in person. It looks like the weather will be 65 degrees, so it actually in February will be about 20 degrees warmer than when we went last year.
How you get
About
sunburned in
close to that.
35-degree weather? We both walked out there with chapped faces, red. Worst sunburn
Yeah.
I've had in years. It was 35 degrees outside.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't think I have any different expectations, but maybe I'm wrong. Travis, moving on to next week, does anybody get to be a favorite? Like, is this exactly what we're going to see again next week where we have no idea what the hell is going to happen?
I think it's gonna be a lot like this race. I think if we, look back at Atlanta the last few years, it's a lot of just side by side. I actually think when that racetrack kind of gets slicked off and gets some age on it a little bit, I think that actually is going to be a better track than you know, what we thought it was going to be after seeing it the first couple years. So I think you're going to see a lot of the same. I don't, I think fuel mileage is still going to play a factor in that place. But I think Atlanta is a little bit more on your edge. If I'm going to be honest, I think you got to be a little bit more on your tippy toes because there's a little less room obviously there. So
Yeah. There's like
um,
12 less feet, I believe,
yeah,
than
so
Daytona.
little less room. So I think we're gonna see a lot of side by side. Obviously it's hard to get three wide there, but we did see a little bit last year whenever a couple cars could break away from the pack a little bit, they could kind of run, kind of almost get away at some point. So over the next couple of years, that track's gonna get more of a handling, more handling to the point where I think when that track ages after about 5 or 10 years, it's not going to be it might not become a pack. It might not become a pack thing anymore. It's going to be kind of on its own.
Corey says, "Who are you guys picking next weekend?" I'm going for my man, singular, Chase or Byron. So is he going for his men, Chase or Byron, or is he going for his man? I'm not the grammar police. I'm just reading the comments.
He's a big
Is
Chase
this one of
fan.
your fanboys? Is it?
Hey, I got all kinds of fanboys. I
Yeah,
look at all these
another
people. I got
another
everyone.
another footboy by Travis,
Hey,
guaranteed.
I bring it all the people in. I think Chase and Byron's both got a win there at Atlanta since they repave. I think Hendrick has won at least 2 out of the 4 races during that. Logano won it last year during the spring. If am I right on that? Did he win did he run the spring race?
Byron,
Won the fall race. Byron's won there 2 out of the 4 since the repave.
I think
And
Byron
Chase has
won.
won
Byron
Chase
won
won the
the
other one.
fall race because it was rained out,
Yep.
backing into it.
And then
And
he
then
won.
when Joe and I went, Joey Logano dominated.
Yes, so Hendricks won 3 out of the 4 repave races there because Elliott's got the other one.
Oh, snap! We got a
Did you see
pile
that
up
too?
here.
Yeah,
we
if
got. Is
Ryan
that
Ryan
Sam
didn't make me turn off my TV, we could have seen it.
Uh-oh. Wait.
If I wanted this stream to stay on
I see the yellow.
YouTube,
Oh, that's a big one. I think. Oh, what an idiot!
Yeah.
I like
What
that
are
the
you
vodka
doing?
car has got its hood up and the driver can't see. That's the way it should be.
Is Gosselin in the 91 this week? Or who's in the 91 this week?
I
Is it
know
Gosselin?
Ryan Weatherman was involved in that wreck, and I don't know the other two.
See, old Shane McHenry commented, "How's Lawrenceburg Speedway coming?"
Hey, well, I think it's all coming pretty good. It got some new clay on there. I saw. All Shores too.
Is that's the new executive there at Lawrenceburg Speedway, correct?
I don't think he wants to make it known, but we are first cousins.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say that
Corbin,
he's the executive. I was like,
his
damn,
son and I.
He's pretty public.
His son and I are in Corbin, so his son Corbin races at the racetrack too, and actually he comes over to the house all the time because he usually keeps his car here. So,
old Shane McHenry there, he's an executive of a couple things up in Dearborn County.
Yeah,
keeping up the good work up there.
Mr. B. Colton says hi. There you go.
Hey, Colton.
Old Colton, we love Colton.
You know how hard it is to have a chat and all they want to do, Joe, is talk to Travis because his feet, and then you and I are just sitting here.
Is Travis
actually?
Are your feet taped up today?
No tape today.
Dogs that no taped feet.
No taped feet today. I still got my Pepsi. That's all that matters.
That's true. Joe, you've never seen a guy drink Pepsi until you've been with Travis at a racetrack. He brings his own cooler and goes through 18 Pepsis, and that's not an exaggeration.
It was a
18
24
Pepsis.
pack. It was two 12 packs.
You drank a case of Pepsi.
Yeah.
What's
That
your
was
record?
crazy.
What's your record on a case?
In a
Yeah, time
day
frame.
or
No.
I could drink a 12 pack in probably if it's sitting there and it's nice and cold, I could drink it. If you started at 8 o'clock, I could have a 12 pack gone probably by 2 o'clock easily.
Well, I'm going to challenge you. You're going to have to free up a day. We are going to do a live stream and watch you drink an entire case of Pepsi.
Hey, actually, take that back.
Thanks,
So
Erica. We appreciate that. We need that. We need some friends.
We went to Sandusky, Ohio, and because we went to what's that? It's not Kings Island. It's what's the other one up there? It's
a prison.
No, it's a amusement
Cedar
park.
Point.
Cedar Point.
Yeah.
So on the way up there, it's about a 5.5 hour trip, and I always took a 12 pack of Pepsi. And my
You got
buddy
a kidney stone.
and all of them could vouch for this, but always on the way up there, I would see how fast I could drink a 12 pack of Pepsi, and I would always have one. I would always have a 12 pack gone before we got up there. Now I think that was about a 5 hour trip, so I could do a 12 pack in 5 hours.
Yeah, knowing that about you, if you need a kidney, you are not getting mine.
Hey, my dad got a kidney transplant, luckily, so which is awesome. So I hope I don't have his kidney issues.
Well, now you made me feel like an asshole for saying that. I
I know. He's doing great.
You can survive with one kidney,
Hey,
Joe.
my
You're
mom-
fine.
My mom
God gave
usually
you
watches
two of them
this.
for a reason.
Exactly.
Hey, my mom usually watches this too. So no, Dad's doing great. That was almost 2 years ago now, which is crazy to think about. So he's doing great. He actually, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but when you have a kidney transplant, you actually keep the bad kidneys. So he actually has 3 kidneys.
He kept it like in a vase?
No, you keep it in you. So the kidney's not connected anymore. So he has 3 instead of having 2 kidneys, now he has 3 kidneys.
Sorry, I've watched a lot of Hannibal. We do have a comment, David Cole, on our whenever I posted a short of the big one. I'm not sure if you can read that. Probably not. I will say David Cole 333. I'm guessing didn't subscribe. Worst race in years. NASCAR is a complete abomination. It is dead.
I disagree with that, David.
So
I know, David. I'm sorry. Do you feel that if you're watching?
You guys ever watch the books? No, David. No, David.
No, but I've heard Listen Linda.
No, David.
Corey Hunter. Who's winning the championship this year? Who's your guys' favorite and underdog? You know what, Corey? I'm going to tell you this. We have 2 previous shows where you can actually watch that. So I can be the complete tool, plug what we've done before, and say you'll have to find us then. I do want to plug this for Shane. So the Berg is getting a facelift. It has a new owner, Lawrenceburg Speedway. They've been doing all kinds of modifications to the track. I'm hoping, Shane, you're able to keep the dust down, as I was unable to see the sprint cars. Joe and I could not look to the left last year. Right. So hopefully you're keeping the dust down. And whenever the high limit series comes in, we get a great product, because Joe and I and Travis racing there know how great the Berg is when it comes to a racing product. So
love that place.
Hey, Shane actually picked Byron to win. He made a nice little profit. Yeah, financially.
Oh,
you see a picture of it. He made a nice little $5 to win 117. So that money's going back into the Berg. Oh my God! Did you guys see Mayer's head-on collision?
Was that Haley Deegan that wrecked? That's the 15.
Yeah. Haley just didn't hit the brakes.
Shocker.
She forgot they were there.
She's like, she goes,
why is there 3 pedals? Are these 2 brakes over here?
You got to guess the turn. You got to guess the turn.
What's this thing? I thought that was a handbrake. This son bitch don't even work.
Hey, whoa! There's a Wendy's commercial now, and you got the Wendy. Yeah, we know who wins.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Did you guys watch SVG's putt? Like, he literally hit it out of the park. Watch his putt he hits. Watch. It literally leaves the area.
I'm like I'm way ahead of you. I'm already back to racing.
What?
Oh, Daniel Suarez got wrecked.
That's what I mean. They got the commercial going on with
Daniel, Haley, and Kyle Weatherman. Unless you want to watch putting.
Yeah.
Hey, how about
Travis continue?
Hey, SVG, where's he at? 16th? Man, he's a little wild child right now.
We do have another question.
He's getting used to the ovals.
What could NASCAR do in that situation? I think it was a great race. My boy Chase squeezed through that wreck. Unbelievable. Chase Elliott? I thought Chase Elliott wrecked at the end, but maybe I'm incorrect. Unless you're thinking of Chase.
I think he was
Unless you're
back to
saying Chase
back.
Briscoe.
No, he's an
No,
Elliott.
Chase Briscoe wrecked earlier, didn't he?
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Well, they're
I
showing that
thought.
replay.
Hold on. I'll let you talk about the replay.
Oh,
Go
he's
ahead.
talking about this wreck right here that's going on. He kind of squeezed through there, and he kind of pinched his way through. He got through that first wreck. He kind of got in the middle a little bit, but he got right through it, which I thought was pretty good. I thought he made a good decisive move right there.
Daniel Suarez caused about $500,000 worth of damage in Trackhouse racing cars tonight.
Yeah.
Not that they were his fault. That's just what happens.
Well,
SS green light.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Daniel Suarez caused some damage last year in the 500, if I remember.
That's
They ought to just stop letting him race in the 500. And while we're talking about it, they shouldn't let the Xfinity race at Atlanta next week.
Brad Pitt, no doubt, if it's anything like what we saw. Now, the truck race tried to take that mantle this year for what we saw. Now, I did want to bring this up to you guys since we're here. We're watching racing. We're all part of it. We got 4 laps to go here. It's surprising to me how little, I guess, prospects there are in truck racing compared to the previous years. When I was watching the truck race, I just kind of forgot how stripped they were of talent from what we've previously seen. I think Xfinity still has a good chance to be really, really good this year. But there's a lot of guys in truck this year. I'm like, oh my God, who the hell's going to win? And then, of course, Nick Sanchez ends up winning after Kyle Busch sells KBM Motorsports. But, I feel like Xfinity's still got probably the most amount of like youth and also veterans at the same time. But truck, man, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I looked at it differently watching Friday night. But I feel like their entertainment on display showed that there's just not a lot of talent right now in truck.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we watch, and I don't think that you could take what we saw Friday night and kind of think that is going to be the norm throughout the season. But I definitely think this year is going to be a year where some truck veterans like Crafton, that have another very good season. I think he's actually going to shine a little bit more than he has the past several years, just because his experience. Because those guys are green, man. There's a lot of young guys racing, and I mean, it showed. The 500 really showed that. So let's see what they do at Atlanta next week. I think that's probably going to be a reincarnation of the Xfinity race last year, because I think that's a hard track for young drivers to get a handle on. So, but I am still excited to watch the trucks this year. We might find a diamond in the rough there.
Yeah, I mean, the last few years, Joe, and Travis, you may feel the same way. Like the trucks and Xfinity races have put on better racing than what we saw at the Cup Series, and I don't know if the truck will do that this year. But am I overreacting after one race, Travis, or do you watch the trucks and go, I don't know how much talent's actually in this compared to previous years?
I think, yeah, I think the talent is definitely down, but at the same time, I think it's good to see some of those. You see some of those regulars, I guess, you're in there. So I think it is down a little bit. I still think Xfinity still puts on some of the best racing.
Yes.
Besides, I think I've been really impressed with the 1.5 mile package with the next gen car, but super speedway racing, Xfinity hands down. I don't know. I think I'm more interested to see what happens after these first couple of races. I do agree with the trucks. I'm interested to see, you look at the trucks and go, all right, who's going to be the next step? Like who's going to be the next Cup driver out of there? And I don't see a Cup driver coming out of there. If we're going to be honest with you.
I mean, because you got to think like Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar, they double jumped. I mean, they skipped right over Xfinity and straight into Cup. So like you lose that ability to watch that. And, like Corey Heim is moving up, so he's now probably the guy after.
And you look at that, but I also just think he just had such a better thing last year. I don't even say that he was above anybody else. I think he had the best truck last year, but
Right.
I
I
look at
agree.
some of the stuff. I'd probably say Jesse Love would be the one that I mind a little bit. He's an Xfinity though. I don't know. I'm interested to see what comes out of that group. I just that the trucks are reminding me a lot like the old times whenever a bunch of 35 and 40-year-olds are racing them.
Yes. Yes,
And
I
that's what it's
agree.
reminding me of. You got like Crafton that's like 47, 48. You got
Finger.
you got some of these people that are old, and it's like
Ben Rhodes has never moved on from trucks. That
I think Ben Rhodes is going to
two-time
be like
champion that's won one race last year. So
I think Ben Rhodes is just going to be just like Crafton. I think he's just happy down there. He knows he can
yep.
compete. Um, I think that's how I look at it. I think you look at, I think there's more, which it should. The Xfinity's got more players, definitely. That can move up, but you also look at the Cup and you go, whose spots are these people going to take? I mean, who would they take?
Yeah.
Who's on the outs? You got
Austin Dillon,
Spire.
please,
Yeah,
for God's sakes, help me.
he's
Help
taking
me.
he's gonna be there for the next. He's gonna retire there. But who's on the
Yeah, well,
outs? Well, is
it's going to
Hamlin
be
gonna be on the
retirees.
outs?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably going to be retirees.
Who's the next retiree? Probably Martin
Martin
Truex.
Truex. Yep.
So probably his maybe last year. Who takes his spot?
I don't know, but we've been saying that for 5 years.
I know, but like,
well, he keeps us holding on until every September.
who really honestly takes his spot?
Yeah.
But you got to think about it. Bass Pro. If Martin Truex is gone, Bass Pro, I would probably say would go to Noah.
Right.
And I think who brings in money for Joe Gibbs. I don't know that answer. Who has the funding to fill that role, and
Not Kyle Busch.
I don't know.
Can't find him a sponsor.
Yeah. So you look at as they show a Toyota, they show a truck commercial with Heim. I don't know. I'm interested to see. Yeah, there's no one in the truck series that's like, oh, I cannot wait for them to move on. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna watch the races, but there's no one there that's excites me. I think there's definitely some talent in the Xfinity series, but I think same way. I think people are just complacent being in Xfinity series, and I don't see anyone in the Cup. You got to have some retirees. Which who would that be? That'd be Truex, right? And then you have who else would you have?
Yeah, it'd be Truex right now. He's the only one probably square on the fact because we've been answering the same question 3 years in a row. Joe, I want you to answer this. Should NASCAR put more restrictor plates on the schedule or take some off? If so, which tracks?
I don't know. That's been a question that's probably has been argued for the last 30 years, right? I think the restrictor plate races that we have right now are, you got Talladega, Daytona, Atlanta's not a restrictor plate, is it?
Yes, it is.
It is. Atlanta.
So you got 6 races right now out of 36.
I think is that all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that's enough.
I'm the same way. I think that porridge is just right, according to our friend with the Bears. I feel like 6 races, and mainly because you saw it today, that you get to see, a driver who didn't dominate the race, who probably didn't have the best speed, who wrecks his way into winning the race. That while it's entertaining for 498 miles, there's a part of you at the end of that go, ugh. And I hate that feeling. Like I hate watching a movie where I'm invested for 2 hours and at the end I'm go, what? And I feel like, a lot of times super speedway races do that to me.
Yeah, actually, I take it back. I say take them off, let the cars do 230, and let somebody win by 7 laps. That would be fun.
And here comes Daniel Suarez. Oh, he wrecks over turn 3. Oh, he's in the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, we'll never see Daniel Suarez again.
He's in the ocean.
Yeah, Bill Elliott can go 212 at Talladega. Damn it, bring it back. Yeah, so Travis,
I thought Travis froze on us.
he
He's
did.
watching the. No, he didn't.
No, he's all in, bro.
Yeah.
When he saw Creed, actually, he didn't know that was Sheldon. He just actually started singing higher. I mean, he's a big Creed fan.
Nice.
Wow, what a finish.
Um,
Oh, SVG almost got some points there.
Something that I've never heard.
Christopher Hunter says, I'm over here waiting on JR to go to Cup Racing. Well, if JR is going to go to Cup Racing, he's going to have to spend about $80 million to get 2 cars to get into the Cup Series.
What's the situation? How does he get in the Cup? Who is he got to buy? Who does he got to buy out?
That's the only team that I can see right now that's struggling for money, that's just dropping people left and right. I mean, they got their best driver in AJ Allmendinger, who finished top 10 today and said, we don't want you at Cup because you don't draw enough sponsorship. Go win in the Xfinity.
How about
to me, Colleague is the answer, but you guys may differ.
I think Rick Ware Racing should pack it up.
That's not happening. They just signed an alliance with RFK, so I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I was thinking, who would they have to go to? I thought Legacy Motor Club was the answer until they switched to Toyota. So it went away. I went away from that. I think as a bold prediction.
Don't say Stewart.
That was my I think I really think here's the 2 teams I think. I don't think RCR would bite into it, but I think RCR would be smart from a standpoint of sponsorship and some stuff to bring him in. But I also think Stewart Haas, if they don't perform this year, I think he is going to go in that because Stewart's on their last year with Ford.
Right. That's correct.
So I think it is a prime position for Stewart Haas to go back with Chevy. And I think they go back to where the alliance what they had with Hendrick back in the day. And I think we see almost relatively the same thing what we saw back in like 2014, 2015, the same thing where we see that alliance and stuff. So I look back and go, all right, I think we see a
well, we got a weird alliance when it comes to Spire. They get engines from RCR, but they get bodies and everything else from Hendrick.
Wait,
so that's
RCR. Oh yeah, I guess that is right. I think I asked Bob Pockris that one time. I was like, why does Spire have Hendrick Motorsport sponsorship on half their cars, but they get their bodies hung by Hendrick, but they get yeah. I don't get that either. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. I never thought about that. Which I bet that's changed this year because now HendrickCars.com is sponsoring, some Spire trucks. So I bet that changes a little bit if I had to guess.
What do you think, Joe? Who's the team that you would see if Dale Jr. could get into the sport? Who do you see disappearing?
I really don't know.
Do you think Dale Jr. will get into Cup racing? I guess that's a big
question. Dale Jr.'s kicking himself in the nuts for not buying a charter 4 years ago.
Yeah, he had a. I don't see anything in the foreseeable future, and I'm talking, the next 5 years. I just don't see an opportunity coming up. And I mean, we could play. Basically, what we're doing is playing the what if game.
Right.
I think realistically, to make an educated guess on that, I think you'd have to look at each individual team's books and see who's not making it. But I don't think that's the case for any of these teams.
Well, Jeff Gordon just said on Dale Jr.'s podcast said that they haven't made Hendrick Motorsports hasn't made profit for over 10 years, which is crazy to think about. They haven't made a profit in 10 years.
Which then answers the next question, which we'll get to in a second. But I want you to finish your thought, D. Joe Spillman.
I mean, realistically, would it make more sense for an RCR or a Hendrick Motorsports to sell one of their charters and go into partnership with him to, so he could, potentially put a team in? Kind of like a Woods Brothers thing, but I don't think I realistically don't see Dale getting in anytime soon.
Okay. So leading into that, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Travis, is should the charter system go away? You mentioned profitability. This is the only way that right now these teams have a chance to profit. I mean, we saw BJ McLeod sell Live Fast and get somewhere between 40 and 50 million dollars for jack shit. I mean, which is what his charter was worth. I feel like the charters on the only, at least right now, until they get a deal done, the opportunity for these teams to make money in the future by selling off their cars. So I personally don't see the charters going away. I think that's the big topic on why NASCAR and the ownership group. Because what's interesting to me, and this is a pet peeve, and this will be a let's talk about it episode one day. And I don't want to go on a rant. Maybe I should. I don't know. But NASCAR talks about money more than any other professional series. I mean, we don't have higher horsepower because we're scared Honda or Dodge don't want to buy in. Even though we think it might be a better product, but we don't want to talk about horsepower because it costs more money. Even though ECR talks about, oh yeah, we could do that. Roush Fenway says, oh yeah, we could do that. Toyota says, oh yeah, we could do that. But NASCAR doesn't want to make that step. So imagine baseball. You know, the baseballs are falling apart and they go, yeah, baseballs probably should be made out of better leather, but, you know, it just costs a lot more money to make better baseballs. Or basketball's like, yeah, the backboards keep cracking, but that's just a lot more money to make better backboards or some stupid shit like the floor is not falling apart or something. So, like you said, most teams lose money in this sport. So should the charters go away? No, because I think that's the only financial investment that they have that one day if they don't want to do this, that they won't just completely just get screwed in the red until something changes. But at the same time, if you're also not going to be willing to pay drivers like Kyle Busch to drive when he's won 2 championships, when he's won more races than anybody else, somewhere something has to change financially. I don't think the charter should go away, but at the same time, I don't think the driver should have to fund his own sponsorship to race in this series if this series wants to be taken as highly as it possibly could. So maybe that's just me. Maybe you guys have a different opinion. Travis, I'll start with you.
I think I think this was going to happen. I watched where they talked. Chris Myers talked to Steve Phelps, and he said, they're negotiating and stuff. And they said, yeah, the race teams want more. They want more percentage of the revenue. And he goes, that's what we're going to give them. And I think NASCAR kind of saw themselves as like, okay, we're making a lot of money here. I think it's time to, they put on the product. It's time to share some of those. So they
roughly before this new deal. Not to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Roughly, because NASCAR's not public, it's private, $150 million after everything is said and done. That's roughly what's been suggested, just to give people an idea.
Mm-hmm. And that's what, they're going to give them a bigger percentage of the, revenue. So I think you do that and, a lot of these teams will be fine. I think Denny Hamlin was the first one that said, like, NASCAR keeps what 93% in, of the TV deal, and we get 7%, that they, whatever they percentage they came up with. I forget the exact, I think it was 93 and 7. So, NASCARs are like, hey, we need this and that and, so forth. So I think, if NASCAR does that split a little bit better, a little better percentage, I think it'll be fine. And I also think if they do that, I would not be shocked if they bring in like 2 more charters. Like they make it a 38 charter thing where you got to buy in, but that money that they buy into gets split between the other teams. You could do it in some way. You know what I mean? Like NASCAR doesn't just keep it, but hey, if Dale Jr. wants to buy a charter, what one would be going for like 40 million. Hey, we're going to do that 40 million, but at the same time, you're going to, that's going to be split between, the race teams. So I don't know how you do that, but I don't know. I don't see NASCAR staying at 36 charters for, especially getting a higher percentage of the profit. I don't see NASCAR staying at 36 charters for, the next 10 years.
Joe, what say you?
I say that Travis's point is something that I didn't even think about, and that is probably. I agree that NASCAR will probably add charters in the future. And going back to our conversation about junior motorsports, it's probably the way that he gets in. Um, as far as NASCAR getting away from charters, what does that look like? If NASCAR doesn't have charters, what does that look like? What does a NASCAR without charters currently look like? I don't think you can give a reasonable answer to that.
A lot of
Yeah.
pissed off owners.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think we run into the situation where people drop out of the sport because there's no financial reason to stay in.
Well,
I mean,
I
you
think
look at it. You look at it this way, and you say, like you just said, Live Fast sold their charter for $40 million, and think about what a Hendrick charter would be worth. Think about what a Joe Gibbs charter would be worth. Think about what a Stuart Haas charter would be worth. I must be behind.
We got a lot of 3 wide racing
Yeah.
here.
yeah.
These boys said, "Oh, I see what you're saying."
But you look at it that
I don't
But
think
I-
anybody got seriously damaged in that wreck, but we did have cars spin out. The grass took a tumble.
oh wait, I'm way behind, guys. Oh, I see it. Oh Lord.
Both
Oh, my
RCR
nigga.
cars involved.
Boom.
Oh, there's Shane.
Oh,
Little
did Shane
shake
get
is off.
wrecked?
I don't know if he got turned. I don't know if he got wrecked.
I think realistically, I think the best argument, I think a NASCAR without charters looks like a dominant person races every week against regional drivers because there's not teams that keep up their infrastructure like we see today. And somebody wins 200 races over the lifetime of their career. I think that's what that looks like.
Yeah, I don't just.
I think we've already seen that. Yeah. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a financial reason to be in this sport. I mean, like you said, if the number one team right now in all of NASCAR is not making a profit, then what are you bringing into the sport to do it? I mean, yeah, I guess you could have rich owners that say, "Yeah, I just want to win championships," but at some point, I mean, Michael Jordan made a profit off the Charlotte Hornets, for God's sakes, and they did
Man.
nothing. And he decided to make a profit off the NBA to then continue his NASCAR team. At some point, the business sense of Michael Jordan is going to go, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to continue to live in the red whenever I make money everywhere else.
Let me ask this question. Is Hendricks Motorsports, are they tax exempt? They have to pay taxes?
I would assume.
Then I don't believe for 1 minute that they're not making a profit.
Well, I think if you look at it this way, though, you got to think about all the B2B stuff that and you made a good point because I said the same thing. But you got to look at they got 500 people that's working. They have, they sponsor a car full time. They don't have sponsorship on that car. They technically just have their own HendrickCars.com on Larson. I think you look at like Bowman, what was that? 2020 when he had that he had kind of like a Hendrick Automotive, thing on his car too. So
you're saying the NASCAR venture is just a tax write-off for the car dealerships?
I really think that it's part of it, but I don't fully believe. I think Stuart Haas, like Tony Stewart said that he made a profit off of NASCAR. He said they made a profit. So, I do agree. And obviously they didn't run worth a crap last year. So I don't fully agree. I think he was just saying that out loud of like, oh, we didn't make a profit for 10 years. Like, yeah, I think they probably did make a profit, but not the millions and millions that people think. Because like he said, they got 500 employees. And think about it. I bet 10 of those employees make over probably $150,000 a year.
Beard Motorsports has one full-time employee, and they made the Daytona 500.
And I bet they have at least 10 accountants thrown in with those 500 employees that make it look like they're not turning a profit.
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, there's probably a lot of truth to that. I think it's an interesting talk because, I just think about other major sports, and I'm like, NASCAR is one of my favorite. And I just sit here and go, when do I ever hear another major sport talk about the difficulties of money? You know, like when Joe and I, when we listen to the Castellinis talk about how we just don't have the payroll this year. It's like, dude, you're making hand over fist. When the Yankees have people go to their ballpark, you
Where are
get
you going to
revenue
go?
from that.
Yeah, you shut up and like it. Where are you going to go?
Yeah, it just drives me insane. Whenever the Kansas City Royals give Bobby Witt $250 million and there's like 16 people at their ballpark and they're still going to make a profit. And then you hear about NASCAR and they're like, hey, maybe short tracks would be better if you made them 750 horsepower. And Steve Phelps is like, we just don't think that could work. And then, you interview everybody that makes cars in the sport. And they're like, oh, yeah, we could do that easily. It wouldn't even cost that much money. And the argument goes back to they've literally said at times, well, some of the lesser teams, they'd have to build engines more. If I'm having to worry about what used to be Live Fast Motorsports or Rick Ware Racing, how they have to build more engines, then you're not serious about being the most competitive motorsport. Whenever literally the Formula One is putting up 20-foot signs so you can't watch practice without spending $350. Like, I just feel like NASCAR does so many good things, making the Busch Light Clash end up making it free and doing those type of things that promote their motorsports. And then at the same time, they're like, yeah, we could also make our motorsport better, but we're scared Honda won't join, even though realistically, are they ever going to join? Like, it's just stupid stuff like that that just drives me insane. Go ahead, Joe. You seem like you had something you want to say.
No, I don't. I'm just taking in what you're saying. I don't really have anything to add to what you're saying.
Okay.
Where are you going to go? I mean,
the sad thing is I had a fun
I'm
team
never
next
letting
year.
that go. I'm never letting that go, and I'm never going back.
I'll tell you what I did. So I love Matt McLean. I went to Reds Fest, and I'll show you this because it's awesome. I ended up buying that from the stadium. I have a T-shirt with that on it. So where did I go? I went to Reds Fest. So, I'm a piece of trash. You don't have to tell me.
You got to stand on your principles.
Yeah, I know. I'm a piece of trash.
Why don't you put that comment up?
Yeah. I think we should hire back Tom Brenneman.
Yeah. Sure. That'll
well,
go
guys.
well.
That's a deep fly ball.
No, you got one more comment that you need to put up because I want to see your reaction to that.
Joe Gibbs is stupid for letting Kyle Busch go. I would say on the surface, yes. Financially,
couldn't find sponsors.
I don't know. Kyle Busch recently said in an article that they had a deal with Oracle. It fell through. I feel like my camera's all dicked up now. I shouldn't have done that. It fell through, and that Joe was going to have to pay out of his own pocket. And he essentially made the choice for him that he would not let him do that. So I don't know what the finances are there. We obviously that Kyle Busch has made a lot of financial decisions by getting rid of Rowdy Energy, by selling off his truck team. So obviously he's made some financial decisions too.
Speaking of Rowdy Energy, like what actually happened with that? Like I didn't get to look into that.
He essentially said it just wasn't that profitable, but I also, without securely looking at it, said that they were getting sued by California for something, which God knows, it probably wasn't enough, feces in it, from the street or something. I don't know. Not enough profits went to undeveloped communities that they've been throwing money at. I have no idea. But
it wasn't their cans weren't made out of paper, so California sued them.
Possibly. Yeah. None of them had Gavin Newsom's face on it. Who knows? Right. I don't know. But, I think that was just a business venture that he decided. And, I actually have a true Rowdy Energy, not the Rowdy Energy, but the Rowdy drink from NOS, holding up that Pocono sign. I'm keeping it forever. But obviously Kyle Busch has had to make financial changes in his life. And to be completely fair, I think Ty Gibbs is going to be a really good race car driver. So it made it very easy for Joe Gibbs to move on from Kyle Busch whenever your grandson, I think, has a realistic chance to win a NASCAR championship one day. Will he be Kyle Busch? Probably not. But it just seemed like the timing was right as well.
This race is turning into a wreck fest.
Yeah, that's typically what happens on super speedways with these younger drivers.
Hey, did better racing in the first half of this.
Frankie Muniz is going backwards.
Hey, this race is better than the Cup for the first part.
That's true.
Yeah.
But those guys, they just don't give a crap if they wreck. It seems like the NASCAR Cup drivers don't care.
I think it's bullshit. Next time I'm turning on my TV, I don't care what Susan Wingwang says.
Well, she's been replaced. I forget who the guy that owns. He actually might even be worse, Joe, to be completely honest. But, well, guys, we've been on for an hour and 10 minutes. It looks like it's getting pretty late here. Most people, I'm guessing, are not tuned in compared to what I've seen numbers-wise. Do you guys have anything closing here for our Daytona 500?
No, it's good time, good show, good Daytona 500. That's all I got.
Travis?
I'm ready to get away from super speedways for a while. Get out of Atlanta. Give me a mile and a half. I'm ready for it.
Well, you get Atlanta, and then I believe you get maybe the worst track technically on the entire circuit with Phoenix.
Hey, they got a new short track package, so we'll see what that does. Let's see what that does. I'm intrigued. It's gonna make me a little intrigued. I'm not gonna say it makes me happy, but it'll make me intrigued.
It'll make you intrigued, and then we'll do our weekly show and be like, maybe they should just add more horsepower.
Oh, dude, here and people make the point of this of saying like, add horsepower. We want to see the cars go faster, but at the same time, it's like we wouldn't really notice. But I think we would notice it from like a visual standpoint. But I 100% think it would bring out just the better racing aspect.
Right.
Oddly
enough, the more mistakes drivers make, the better the product actually is.
Hey, think about that. I think we would have a better super speedway package if the Ryan Newman wreck didn't happen. Just gonna throw that out there. That's just my opinion.
Before we sign off, Travis introduced a new segment last year, and this, Joe, is where we kind of have one final thing to say before we log off. So, Joe, like Usher, man, we're going to let it burn, okay? All right, so that was John Hunter Nemechek burning it down at Martinsville, and then Chase Elliott burning it down at the Roval after Kyle Harvick tried to show him how tough he was and then wrecked himself out. So I will start the segment off with the burn it down. And my thing that I take away from the Daytona 500 is, again, beating the dead horse, but William Byron most likely is one of the top 3 to 4 drivers in the sport, but he just doesn't do enough to move the needle when it comes to excitement, when it comes to being able to show his face, when it becomes able to make him one of the monikers of NASCAR. There's a reason why Fox still puts Bubba Wallace on its program packaging before they will put William Byron. And William Byron, in half of a season, has done more than Bubba Wallace has done in his 8-year career. And that's because Bubba Wallace, for better or for worse, like 50 Cent said, let them hate. Even if they hate, the money will pile up. And that's what they're trying to do with Bubba Wallace, because they're willing to take the negative headlines to watch people talk about it. William Byron just doesn't move that needle. I like the kid. He's talented. He has a very unique background. But at the end of the day, him winning the 500 may actually be one of the worst things that happens for NASCAR in terms of moving the needle. Travis, I'll let you burn it down next.
Let's see here. How about the typical pole sitter of the 500 never seems like winning the race or even completing the race. I think, I think I get enough from, I know you guys said 6 super speedways. Just give me back to the original 4. The super speedways aren't the same as they used to be. It's all, analytics and, fuel mileage, and they're only good for the last third stage. So just give me a 50 lap super speedway race, and I think I'll be happy with it. I think that'd be more exciting than a 500-mile race. There's too much fuel mileage involved in these super speed races anymore. So give me a 50 lap race to end it. As there's a wreck going on, but just give me a 50 lap race in a super speedway, and I think that'll be good enough. There's too much fuel mileage, or just take the stages out. I think that fixes the issue. But tired of the fuel mileage races and super speedway races. That's not how it's supposed to happen.
Joe, what do you have for us to end our burn it down segment?
Yeah, I thought the Daytona 500 was a good Daytona 500 this year. I always think the Daytona 500 is good. I think you get so amped up for the first race of the season that everything just looks a lot better than it is. But I like watching the 6 super speedway races with Atlanta thrown in there. But Travis said earlier, 1.5 miles is where it's at. We used to have a really good 1.5 mile track just about 7 miles that way. No longer using that anymore. But I'm ready for the season, and Bubba Wallace is a bitch.
Well, if you want to hear any more content like that, feel free to join us. We have multiple ways you can join us outside of YouTube. We have Facebook, Patreon, and Rumble. Again, there'll be different things you can expect this year. We have let's talk about it, where typically it's just myself or one of these guys, if they ever decide they want to join in on a subject where they just talk about it for 10 to 12 minutes and break down what's happening in the sport of NASCAR. We have our weekly shows, we have our post-race shows, and we'll see what happens in between. There's times that we'll have breaking news when a guy like Chase Elliott decides that he's going to break his leg, and we have to do an emergency live stream to talk about things like that. So we'll be with you the entire year. Anything that you want, we typically try to, especially, I know Travis is into it a little bit. Joe and I, we talk about breaking down NASCAR, FanDuel lineups and the odds, and we'll do all that type of stuff. It's whatever you guys want. We typically dictate towards that area, but, 2024 seasons ahead of us. And we've had just this month alone, we're 19 days into it. 37,000 people join the channel and watch our content. So we're excited you're here. Make sure you stay here if you want the most entertaining news and being a part of it. But outside of that, for Joe Spillman, Travis Butt, I'm Ryan Peters. We'll see you next time on Stuck in the Catch Fence.